Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a video for you that is more of just an overview of some of the stuff that's on my table, rather than anything else. I'm gonna be real with you here. I have actually a series of videos that I'm working on, but they're still in the writing stages, and they're taking me freaking forever. These are not reviews, these are more philosophical pieces, thinking a little bit about the state of the knife market right now in 2022, and some of the concerns that aren't really, discussed out there. But given that these videos are, I was hoping very much to have at least the first in the series fully cooked today, but I sat down to start filming. I had that sensation of like, no, it's not ready yet. If I serve this, it's gonna be bad. Kind of like any time I cook actual food. So what I figured I would do instead, just so there's some content for you all on the Saturday here, is to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's on my table. New, old, and indifferent, right? And I've probably talked about a little bit of this stuff before here, but I just figured I'd show some things off and give you all a sense of what I'm looking at here. So we'll go ahead and start off. This is a DRM Neutron, Neutron 2 specifically, but this is the newer set of scales that they have recently released. They have a different set of titanium scales. Here, I'll show you the old set, if I can find them at speed. Yeah, so here is what the old version looked like, and right here. And here is the new one. And I'm going to be real with you, the difference here is pretty subtle. Right? It is not necessarily something that if you have the old scales you should upgrade. No, absolutely not. Gives you a little bit more gription, which is nice, but aside from that, it's just a cool little pattern. It's just a nice quality of life improvement. I find it a little bit nicer. I find it a little bit grippier in the hand. If you have a choice between buying the old scale and the new one, for me, I would send you to the new one 100%. But if you've got the old ones, they're great. They still work really well. And yeah, so anyways, that's the new set of scales here on a knife that I've had for a while and still carry on a very regular basis. I freaking love the Neutron. It is really one of the better designs out there. This guy is a newer one from from CJRB. This is their Pyrite. This is a fancier upgraded version in titanium and S35VN. It's on loan from Tony Scullambrini over at Everyday Commentary. And by the way, if you don't follow him, watch him, you should. He doesn't do that much on YouTube, but his articles are straight fire, and he is taking on a bigger role of late in the knife community, not necessarily as a reviewer, but as an advocate for basically our rights to carry pocket knives, things like that. And so he's a wonderful person as a human, and he's also a great reviewer. But anyways, this is on loan from him. And I gotta say, it's quite nice. My biggest complaint about it is that it is sort of a very vanilla design, but at the same time, that's true of a lot of stuff that's coming out of there. The action on it is spectacular. I have no real complaints about that, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot to love about this little guy. There's also actually a lot to love about the budget version, which is sitting over here on my desk. This is the budget version. It is currently a little bit beat up. I may or may not have been using this guy gardening, just because, wanted to give it a test, right? And so I'll be cleaning it up for the review, but this is the budget version, and still, a knife I do like substantially, especially when there's not random chunks of succulent in the pivot there. My wife just grabbed it, apparently, and then just washed it out in the sink, which, okay, we'll see what that looks like. Anyways, so the Pyrite there is a very nice choice. It's sort of another one in these line of inoffensive frame lock flipper, button lock flippers, like the Civivi or some Sencut, Saxe, I'm not sure what the heck. But either way, it is, it's sort of in these lines. If I had to choose one, if you don't mind the lack of flipper tab, I think I would probably send you to the Pyrite. It's a little bit slimmer. It's just a little bit nicer. But either way, it's in that same sort of vicinity. This is a new brand, and I think I have actually talked about this knife before, but this is actually this is a knife designed by HEA Designs, who is also on my table here. So we'll go ahead and put that one in next. It's a more budgety flavor, and interesting piece. I'm still getting a chance to kind of feel this one out. It feels a little bit like an HEA. It doesn't honestly feel as crazy as some of his other work, but it is nice. It works well well in the hand. I'm just trying to get a sense of where I land with it. I don't care for DLC. I think that's biasing me a little bit, but it's just been one of those that's kind of tricky to put my finger on and get a sense of exactly where I want to be with it. So there is that. Speaking of HEA designs, this is a very interesting little piece because it's not a knife. This is a new version, the mini version of the Sabertooth, and that's actually the name of it, the Sabertooth thing. And unfortunately, it does not have the acoustics of the original one. The original one had this just ridiculous set of acoustics. This does not, but it is an interesting little folding comb thing. This is honestly dumb. I'm going to be real with you here, but it's dumb in a way that I think a lot of people might appreciate. Like, do you need a retractable flipping folding beard comb? There is very, very low chance that is like in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, floating folding beard combs, combs, just that's not on the hierarchy, right? I don't even think it's yeah. So instead, this is a fun thing, right? This is a thing that you pull out because you want to be a jackass about it. Oh, you can get a little bit of acoustics if you put enough on there, but it's really just not as strong. But anyways, this is a very interesting thing in that, like I said, no need to exist, but kind of cool, right? And for a certain kind of person, and especially if you like fidgeting with a pocket knife, but you work in a non-permissive environment, so to speak, this actually could be a kind of a fun thing to have on you and drive your coworkers crazy with. And yeah, so trying to get a sense of what the heck to do about it, aside from the fact that it's a thing. But it is a thing, and it's a weird thing. So there you go. This guy I think I talked about before already, but I'm going to be real with you here. It's been wild, and I don't remember. And so you're going to hear about it again. This is a new version of the Rayot XO. This is the exact same kind of knife, exact same pretty much everything, except they fixed two things. They gave it a lock, which allows you to carry the knife safely, and they gave it a clip, which allows you to carry the knife easily. As a result, this goes from being a really dumb thing, watch my video about it, to a really dumb thing that's very good to carry, right? And for a section of people, I can actually see this being kind of interesting and compelling, particularly if there are no legal complications around an actual honest-to-God gravity knife. Right? You know, screw with the people who are shaking knives open, say a gravity knife. This is it. This is what one of those is. But it's kind of got a cool idea, right? And it's an interesting functionality. It's very intuitive. It's very, this particular version feels quite safe. There is still some blade play to it. It's a little weird that it's in 3V. But you know what? It's kind of cool, and I'm really glad that they went ahead, that they did the Evo originally, and I'm glad they followed it up with this guy, which feels like a much more reasonable approach to it. So right here is the Holt Knives. This is the Morpheus. Very, very interesting piece. I think I may have shown this guy off on the Instagram before, but this is just it's sort of a follow-up in a lot of ways to the Spectre. Right, the haptic was a little bit of a deviation in terms of design. This guy is a brand new one. Right, and it is it's a quite nice knife. They've done a lot of nice work here. It's got a very nice Damasteel blade, as well as clip, as well as backspacer. It matches my other Holt quite nicely, which I should have gotten out of the safe in preparation. It's been a long 6 months. We'll put it that way. Anyways, but it's beautifully done. It's beautifully textured. The lockup is quite solid, I'll say, on this particular item. So, you know, it's a beautiful thing. They've been enjoying carrying it. It is, and it is much more carryable in terms of the size for me in my life relative to the Spectre there. This is the Winterblade Cofactor 2. I think I mentioned this. I'm pretty sure I did show this off. This is a new version. This is I want to say the B3. Unfortunately, it has it doesn't have the same pop open sound that the original guy did. It's got a little bit of it, but the resonance is damped somehow. There has been a change in one of the geometries that's making that resonance not quite as strong. Kind of a shame, but either way, it is also a slightly different, slightly lighter detent. It's not light in the sense of bad or shake it open. It's just it has a very different feeling to it than the original one. It has a lot more milling, a lot more curvature to it. I actually, you know what? I like it. It's fine. I'm not 100% sure. maybe this guy is also lighter, which is nice, but in a lot of ways, this feels a little bit like a toss-up to me. I know as an influencer, I'm supposed to, every time that, something new shows up on the table, say it's the best thing ever. Bees freaking knees. This is fine. It's a great knife. And if you get one of these guys, you're going to love it. But this is fine. It's a great knife. And if you get one of these guys, you're going to love it too, right? It's really hard. And I do love the acoustics. Gonna be real with you here. But anyways, so this is one of those that as I've been carrying it more, I've been kind of feeling like, yeah, it's cool. Is it needed? I don't know. Not necessarily sure. Right? But it's good. There's no question about that. And if this is what he's offering from here out, then great. Yeah, that works. This is weird. This is real freaking weird. This is a CRKT knife. This is designed by Michael Walker. And by the way, for full disclosure, this guy was sent to me by the manufacturer. This guy was too. I bought this guy from a dealer, so Rayad doesn't even know. Sent to me by a manufacturer, by Tony, and then scales I got via DRM. And then these pens were manufacturer as well. Anyways, full disclosure. This is a very weird knife. This is a Michael Walker designed CRKT. I did not figure right here those words together, but I sure did. And you know what? They've done a lot of things right here. The edge is nice. The steel is pretty I'm trying to remember exactly what the steel is, but it just struck me as like, oh yeah, there it is. Right? It is actually got a nice detent. It fires pretty reliably. It has the roller clip on there, which is not a thing that you see very often outside of Michael Walker. This is, and then the milling is just sort of bizarre, but it's very Michael Walker. The most interesting thing on this, in some ways, or at least most off the beaten path, is the pivot here. This appears to be Damasteel. That's not something I expected from CRKT, right? It is just a really interesting knife. Some of you may be going like, Nick, who the heck's Michael Walker? Why are you saying his name so much? This little device right here, many folks know this is a liner lock. This is the Walker liner lock. Yeah, same dude. My only real complaint about the knife, honestly, is that the lock bar access is not necessarily amazing. I kind of wish it was scalloped out just a little bit more on this side. It's kind of one of those where you have to jam your thumb in a little bit more than I'd like to. But aside from that, this is a really sweet little piece. And it's very interesting. And it's interesting to see CRKT working with one of the greats, right? There are many things you can say about many designers in the knife world, and there's a whole lot of discussion about, oh, this person's better. Michael Walker is pretty unquestionably, if not at the top, very, very close to it. And, a lot of his custom stuff is going for, tens of thousands of dollars. It is very exotic. And this actually is in the line. Like, if you look at this knife, it's like, oh, yeah, Michael Walker. It looks like one of his customs, right? And so this is going to be a piece that is as much a love letter to knife geeks as anything, giving folks something that feels like a custom Walker, not necessarily in terms of action or anything like that, but that feels like it in terms of design, in terms of ideas, etc. So that's nice. One other little complaint here, the centering is slightly off, so, such is life, but it's an interesting idea, and Michael Walker just doesn't do that many production pieces these days, especially not ones that feel like his customs, and so this might be a thing that's going to be interesting to you. A couple of other things. These are pens. I hope you have figured that out already. These are 3 different varieties of smooth precision pens. As a matter of fact, this is a copper version, this is a dark tie, which is just titanium, treated in a certain way, and this is a fully polished version. They're all wearing the puzzle pattern. And by God, this is nice. This is just a very, very nice little pen. Smooth Precision Pens is one of those folks. It's a large agglomeration of folks at this point, but Kelvin is one of the folks who is really competing against himself these days, right? It really feels like, I don't know why Kelvin keeps being as extra as he does, but I'm really grateful for it, right? Because we end up with patterns. This is not something I've ever seen. Certainly this pattern is not something but even the intricacy of this, and you'll note that like within the individual puzzle pieces, the milling lines change directions, right? And this whole thing, it's not like there's a straight line anywhere. Well, okay, there are straight lines, but they all wiggle because it's puzzle pieces, right? The whole thing is wrapped around the diameter of the entire pen. this is really cool. Whether this actually matters to you, that's a different question, right? At the end of the day, this is a pen that takes a very boring Pilot G2 sort of refill, right? This is not one of those, a lot of people are like, Nick, why would you ever review a pen that's, all that it is aesthetics wrapped around the Pilot G2? Yeah, if you just want to write with a G2, you can buy one at the freaking gas station for like $5 for a 2-pack, I think, around these days. But, this is meant to be a beautiful object. It's meant to be a very nice object, and I'm going to be honest with you here. Even as I've been going through some stuff, Smooth Precision Pens has been in my pocket more often than not of late, right? He's got a bunch of different designs that I actually like a lot. The Dragon Scale one I love. Here, I'll just pull that out. So I've been carrying the Dragon Scale guy a fair amount. Also the Valhalla. Goes very well with carbon fiber. Like, I can totally see why he has a following of people who are very much, well, they just buy everything he does because you get a lot of variety out of it, right? And so I have been a big fan of that. A couple other little things. This is actually a Monterey Bay Knives, MBK, has made a bit driver. This is an earlier version of it. I gather the eventual version is going to have more flutes on it, so, like lines like this, not like ocarinas. Although that would be interesting. It's about time somebody does that. Okay, anyways. But it has a very nice, it's got a very nice fidgety action. The roller bearing works well. It's got some good weight to it, which actually can be beneficial as you're doing that. And it uses, like, it has magnets in there to hold it in there. The flutes give it nice torque. Like, I'm still a little bit torn as to whether I like fancy bit drivers better than anything else, but especially one that's being made here in the USA, which, by the way, is a nice thing that, you don't see that often in this kind of market, right? But this is, that's a beautiful thing. I like it. It's a nice object, and I think especially with the more flutes, which will feel a little bit more natural in the finger, maybe a little more natural in the eye. It's cool. It's a nice piece. And then here's something that is decidedly not made in the USA. As a matter of fact, I have a suspicion that it's made wherever these are, right? This is an iFixit driver. This is by NASS. This, for those of you unaware, is Ben Peterson. Ben Bantas, he's formerly of the Blade HQ, and he has designed himself a little bit driver here. And you know what? Kind of interesting, right? What he's got here are a bunch of the most commonly used bits around the side. I gotta say, I'm not super impressed with the durability on these O-rings. I'm already seeing cracking in them. Not super great there. He does give you some spares, which is nice, but yeah. But it is a nice little bit driver, and it includes, or at least this right now actually has an iFixit bit in there, but it includes Weehaw bits along the side of it, which is nice. And, it's a good little driver. I do like the size of it. It is a little bit LBH friendly. I'm trying to think. It's one of those things where it's very hard. I have used this driver a lot. I've used this one very little, all things considered. And so it's kind of hard to tell whether a difference is better, worse, or actually just different, right? And so I'll have to spend some time with this guy. I have used it a little bit. The Phillips was in here. I was taking apart my laptop the other day, and the framework, which, by the way, still in love with that. But anyways, so it's an interesting little thing, and it's nice to see out there. But this is some of the stuff that's been on my table, but weirdly, as a content creator, I've been trying to pay more attention to the vibes, so to speak, in my life. Not necessarily the things that vibrate, although, well, okay. Vibe. Oscillation? That's a vibe, just a very high frequency. Anyways, I digress, right? I hope you're vibing that whole explanation. Anyways, I try to pay attention a little bit to where I want to go with things. And right now, like I said, I've got this series, and it's one of those things where I've been percolating with it for a long time. I've been trying to figure out, how do I go there, right? How do I actually frame this in a way that makes sense to other people? And yeah, turns out that's really hard. And I may not succeed anyways, but I sure as heck know I didn't have it in me today. So anyways, I hope this has been interesting to you. Let me know if you like this kind of video, and let me know what's new on your table. Let me down in the comments there. Let me know what's really exciting to you. If there's something out there that you're like, oh my God, Nick, you need to check this out. I am very much interested in doing so, but yeah, hopefully I'll finally get a handle, intellectually speaking, on the series that's bugging me, and that mostly I hope that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everybody.